portraits, basics, expression, and then skill. Okay, let's start with the basics, where I'm just going to spend 2 or 3 minutes talking to you about a few portraits or the ways people have portrayed people and why they might have done it in that way. So this is Matisse, French artist, really liked colour, really liked shapes, didn't like too much scruffy detail, so although he used to paint, he started to strip it all away, so you've got nice, bright, colourful. Juan Miró, Spanish guy, and this is called inverted personages because actually it's this way around, but there is a person there and there's a person there. And then you join them up with their patterns and it's quite joyful. Van Gogh, oh dear, he did get sad sometimes. He did painting by ... and then he went to ... and then squiggly line. So he's quite cool as a painter and he really liked nice colours. Lowry really liked painting people going to work in the cities, and particularly around Manchester, where it was often a bit foggy and cloudy. He would simplify people down and just get their mannerisms and dispositions. Gwen John, not many women are recorded in the first half of the 20th century and going backwards. She did manage to get into the history books, painting women in domestic settings, so they all are quite relaxing, quite dark, and really quite nicely painted. Going back, turn the clock a little bit further back, and we go to Botticelli, painting in the 1500s-y type time, and people painted tend to be from myths or from religion, and this is Venus. So that's just a little intro. Now we get our tools out. Okay, it's the expressive section of the video workshop. You should have your pastels ready, some coloured paper and some coloured crayons. So before we start, I'm just going to show you that around the time that Matisse, Miró and Picasso were doing their work, an exhibition came over to Paris of African masks and sculptures and artwork, and they were quite simplified down, and they exaggerated sometimes the bits of a human figure or face that were deemed important in those cultures. And it was such a big contrast, it was so different, that a lot of these artists did kind of sort of run off with some of the ideas. I'm showing you that. Because then, when we look at Picasso, and this is a book of how he worked things out. So he could draw very traditionally, but then he started to just exaggerate and simplify. So here's like a woman, and he's just really simplified it down. In here, he's just tried some little different tries. It's for a window, but he's trying things out. That's what we're going to do. We're going to try some things out. So you get your buff piece of paper. So it's called making a few thumbnails, which means you make a few little postage style pictures. And let's go dead simple. So take in Picasso or Miró, or even Gwen John. Even she simplifies it. It's kind of that mask. There's the eyebrows, the nose, and the eyes, and the mouth. We could simplify it further, and you could have. And so in here, we could have you could try out possibilities. So you could have it I'm just making this up, but you could have one side of the face being red and the other side of the face being yellow. In the next one, could be a head with a Miro body, with a pattern running through it. We could go a bit more Van Gogh. That's what I said about those dashes. Remember, greens, oranges, creams he's got in. And we could go, if we go Picasso, and we think of a triangle, a rectangle, circles, we kind of go a bit more geometric for him. So really abstract. And you see how when it's really ridiculous, then the colours become quite important because everything else has gone a bit doolally. Like I need some eyebrows. And you keep going with faces until you're pleased with one, and then you enlarge it. And I might take some of the geometry and then some of the dashing mixture. Okay, so you should have a bit of an abstract piece there that can go up in the Louvre. Next we're going to do the skill session. So I'm going to do a portrait. I'm going to spell it out step by step That's how I do it. It's not a big session, so don't get worried. Get your plain sheet of paper and your charcoal. And you want to slowly cover your paper in charcoal. And then you need to stop the video and get yourself a mirror because you need to see your face. So have you got your mirror? Or you can use a person in your household. So blend that charcoal in. It can be, lightly done. Okay. So before we even start looking at the person in front of us, whether that's ourselves or anybody else, give yourself an upside down egg shape, because that's what shape we are. And then put a line about halfway, so anatomically our eyes come about halfway in our skull as we look at it straight on. So just do that line just to place that. Okay, right. We think of our face having features, but actually let's look about the form first. We have an indentation where our eye sockets are. So if the light is coming in immediately, we're going to have a shadow, unless we were sunbathing directly with light over us. So you can get those in. So charcoal's a bit smudgy. You just get used to it. Don't worry about it. It comes off very easily. And the other place you're going to get shadow is over the nose. So nose is about, an eye and a half down. An eye and a half. So there's a shadow there. Keep it light. So if I was to do your little scale, if you're used to computers, really dark, that only happens in the slit of your lips, your nostrils, and the pupils in your eyes. It doesn't happen many other places. And then you get lighter to highlights. The only white is really probably going to be a highlight on your eyeball, maybe where the light's shining on your nose, and that's about it. The rest is going to be shades of grey. So don't be trudging in there with black. Keep it light, which means, imagine you're stroking a little sparrow. Be gentle. So get that in. We've also got temples. It's like a slight indentation. Top of our skulls bulges out. So it's a bit scary at this point because you kind of look like a skeleton. We've got under the nose. We've then got probably a little bit of shadow under the top lip, and then we've certainly got it under the bottom lip. Our faces aren't square even if they look square, and in actual fact we kind of get sliced in, so under our cheeks, so we shade a bit more there on both those sides. Are you keeping up? Because pause if you can't keep up, and then replay. So that's that kind of shadowing. And then shouldn't be anything else there yet. And see how I'm putting it down and then putting my finger in. Our eyes are about an eye apart. So if we've got an eye, then let's just mark where those eyes probably are. So that's an anatomical thing. That's not looking in the mirror at myself. I just know I need my eyes an eye apart. Okay. And then I'm not going to put a line around these eyes if I can help it. I'll just do a bit about the eye. It's got the bit there, the kind of, that bit that's near your nose. It's got a bulge there and a bulge there. it's not an iris all being shown because you'd look a bit startled. So there needs to be an eyelid. Give yourself more eyelid than you can see, because if you think the eyelids, it stops your eyeballs around, stops the eyeball popping out. So give yourself plenty of eyelid. And then have a look at the way that eyeball is, the actual iris is showing. So it's kind of something like that. This eyelid casts a shadow over your eyeball. And the only bit, as I said, the only black bit is the pupil. But there's normally, like, because it's the most bulgy bit and the eyelid's covering over a bit, and then that bulge is enough, it catches the light. There's often a little reflection that's just near the eye, the pupil. And then the rest is kind of whatever your eye style is. Which, if you look, there's like normally a line round it. Remember what I said about white, so the rest has to be grey. Same with the eyelid. And then you can indicate that this lower lid is holding your eyeball because with a bit of shading. But there's an eyeball in there. And the shape over going up to the eyebrow is kind of like this. There's like a muscle, I think, going like that, and then there's a muscle or some sort of muscle that way and that way. So the eyebrow is doing that, and there's a shadow going there to describe these two shapes. Okay. Back to our face. So we don't really want to put a line anywhere because we haven't really got lines on us. So to maybe describe the eyelid line with some of the eyelashes and a bit of the shadow, and then there is sort of a line around the iris. Get that pupil in. That can be really dark. Go really light if you want to just describe where your iris meets your lower lid. And then a bit of shading under the eye. I've got a secret magic tool where I can rub out to do a highlight. Maybe sharpen a rubber down to a point to get that. So that muscle that's kind of going above here, I'm going to spell out a bit, and then there's this muscle here. Okay. Let's do the other eye to try and balance it. So I've marked that other one, got that line. So again, try not to use lines, use maybe the eyelashes as a kind of shadow. Look at how the shadow anyway, under the eyelid. Get the pupil in again, and the shadow, a little bit of shadow as the eye hits the lower lid, and it just doing those bottom eyelashes. And then my little cheek rubber to create that highlight. I don't think I kind of look like this, but what if I do? I kind of changed. So I've detailed in. Now let's describe the nose. Nose is a big little kind of ridge in the middle of your face. So you just describe it by doing shading down one side. It'll broaden out at the top actually. I don't think it does, but it does. And then it chunks out at the bottom. So it's fattened out, shadow. So shadows are on one side, highlight on the other. Although obviously we've got this shadow where our eyes are that we cast in shadow because we knew that was a fact. The shadow, I often get trouble with that little distance there and get that wrong in portraits all the time. Nostrils are really tough to do, so play them down. Little dash, little dash. I seem to actually have a shadow on my nose that goes down to there, and then I have a shadow under there. And you can kind of, it looks pretty awful then, just alter it. Charcoal rubs away anyway. I'm going to have to give myself hair because it's freaking me right out. Don't do strands of hair. Just get your charcoal on its side and just do it as if it's like it's a solid blob of things. Your neck is not, it's kind of just about the same width as your head, unbelievably. Hairline, it's hard to judge a hairline. In the absence of hairdressers, things can get quite interesting. There's a shadow, because I've got top lighting, there's a shadow right across. I think I've got this distance wrong here. And what's happening at this point is that I can't actually speak when I'm drawing. And basically some really dark shadows. Something wrong about this here. I think that's higher up. But again, you don't want to put any lines around your lips. But I am going to raise that a bit. And it turns out my chin's a bit bigger. So it got to the point in this session where I've completely forgotten. I'm running a portrait thing and I've just started to draw. But that's kind of the way I kind of roll, is just get into it, just get into it. There's really quite a dark shadow under in the neck, because you want to convey that there's depth before you get to the rest of your neck. And even if your neck appears the same colour as your head, cast it in more shadow because it's disappearing, it's underneath your head. So some things are tricks, some things are what you've got to just describe anatomy. Something's not right there. I kind of look a bit older than normal. So eyes width apart, end of your mouth. Try and avoid any lines. Sometimes they're unavoidable, like I had to put some around my nostrils. I think this whole area comes in shadow because it's under the nose, same as the mouth. And the extremities of the mouth level up with the pupil. I'm not going to pick zero of that. So the lip shape, this is kind of bulge at the front, then it's kind of bulge, and the bottom lip kind of tucks in behind. And I think that's probably enough, you know, guys. You know, if you get anything out of this, then do report back and show us. I get quite messy, really, in the end. It'll just become illegible. Really dark. You can't see my ears. Ears are best avoided anyway, quite frankly. Voila, voila, voila. So there you go. That's whatever your first attempt is like. Let's just share them. It's always worth a little go. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.